Imagine a time when one of the most powerful empires in the ancient world was led by a single ruler, a man whose influence and power spanned continents, whose name is still revered today. This is the story of Ramesses II, known to history as Ramses the Great. Born in 1303 BCE in the grand city of Ramesses, Ramesses II was the son of Seti I, a pharaoh who had already embarked on a series of military campaigns to solidify Egypt's position in the ancient world. Ramesses grew up under the shadow of greatness, and from an early age, he was groomed to be the next ruler of Egypt. As a child, Ramesses was trained as a warrior, a strategist, and a future king. He wasn't just preparing to inherit a kingdom, he was preparing to become one of the most powerful pharaohs in history. By the age of 14, Ramesses was already serving as a military leader, participating in his father's campaigns. His leadership in battle would become legendary, and his experience in the field would help shape his military strategy when he finally ascended to the throne. When Seti I passed away, Ramesses was just 25 years old. Egypt was facing external threats, and its internal stability was at stake. Ramesses would have to prove he was more than just the heir. He needed to show the world that he could rule with wisdom, power, and charisma. One of the earliest and most famous challenges Ramesses faced as pharaoh was the Battle of Kadesh, fought in 1274 BCE against the Hittite Empire. Kadesh was a vital city, and its control would mean dominance in the region. The Hittites, led by King Muwatalli II, had a powerful army, far larger than Ramesses' forces. Ramesses was determined to secure a victory and maintain Egypt's dominance. But the battle was far from easy. The Egyptian forces were caught off guard by a surprise attack, and for a moment it seemed as though Ramesses himself might be captured. Ramesses personally led his troops into battle, charging headlong into the fray. His courage and leadership inspired his soldiers, and he managed to rally his forces in the face of overwhelming odds. The battle ended in a stalemate, with heavy losses on both sides. No clear victor emerged from Kadesh, but Ramesses, ever the master of propaganda, proclaimed a great victory for Egypt. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Despite the battle's inconclusive outcome, Ramesses made sure that history would remember him as the hero. He had the victory etched in stone across Egypt, with inscriptions that declared him the victor. His military prowess and ability to spin the narrative ensured that the Battle of Kadesh would forever be remembered as a triumph. But Ramesses II was more than just a military leader. His reign was defined by his grand architectural projects, monuments that would not only glorify his name, but would stand for eternity. His most famous creation? The Abu Simbel Temples, carved into the mountainside in southern Egypt. Abu Simbel is more than just a site, it's a masterpiece. Two massive temples, one dedicated to Ramesses and the other to his beloved queen Nefertari, stand as towering symbols of his power and ambition. These temples weren't just for religious purposes, they were political statements, and strategic ones at that. These temples were built to impress, to intimidate Egypt's enemies, and to show Egypt's dominance to the world. The larger temple, dedicated to Ramesses, features 4 colossal statues of him sitting in eternal silence, symbols of the king's divine status. But there's more. The temples were strategically placed along the Nile, close to Egypt's borders with Nubia, to send a clear message to all who passed by. Egypt's might and power were unquestionable, and Ramesses was at the heart of it. Ramesses' greatness wasn't just marked by his military conquests. After years of conflict with the Hittites, Ramesses sought a path to peace. In 1258 BCE, he signed the first known peace treaty in recorded history with King Hattusili III of the Hittite Empire. A peace treaty. Yes, you heard that right. This was no ordinary treaty. It was a monumental diplomatic achievement. After decades of bitter warfare, Ramesses and Hattusili agreed to a mutual non-aggression pact that would ensure peace between their two mighty empires. This peace treaty was more than just ink on parchment. It was a symbol of Ramesses' wisdom. He had proven that Egypt could dominate through force, but he also understood the value of diplomacy and negotiation. The treaty was a reflection of his skill as a statesman, ensuring peace for Egypt for years to come. Ramesses II wasn't just a warrior and a builder, he was also a father. With over 100 children from many wives and concubines, Ramesses' family life was as grand as his empire. Over 100 kids. Imagine the logistical nightmare of trying to keep track of that many heirs. But Ramesses ensured that his sons and daughters were given important roles in both military and religious affairs. His offspring were carefully positioned to ensure the stability of his dynasty long after he was gone. After a reign of 66 years, Ramesses passed away in 1213 BCE, having lived a long and extraordinary life. But even in death, he remained an enduring symbol of Egypt's greatness. His tomb in the Valley of the Kings was fit for a god, filled with treasures, artwork, and the records of his victories. Ramesses was 90 years old when he passed, one of the oldest pharaohs in history. His death marked the end of an era, but his influence continued to be felt long after his passing. Ramesses' reign left an indelible mark on Egypt and the world. His monuments still stand. His name still resonates through the ages. He was not just a king of his time, but a king for all time. Ramesses II was, without a doubt, one of the most extraordinary figures in human history. A conqueror, a builder, a statesman, and a father. He knew that to achieve greatness, you had to win on every front, in war, in diplomacy, and in the hearts of your people. That's why we still remember Ramses the Great today. So the next time you think of Egypt, think of Ramesses, the man who ruled for 66 years, who created monuments that stood the test of time, and who made sure his name would never fade from history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the life of Ramses the Great, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more epic stories from the ancient world. And hey, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below. What do you think was Ramses II's greatest achievement? Was it his military genius or his monumental architecture? I love reading your thoughts and engaging with fellow history enthusiasts.